Hey guys and gals, and welcome to the 22nd episode of the FPL Pop In Pod, brought to you by the FPL Journal, episode Desmond 22 as it were. Nim is currently being upgraded to a yellow. She wanted to be back for this week, but her vocals aren't healing as quickly as she would have hoped. But she is hoping to be back really soon, and I think we're all hoping for the same. I think it's not just me that's just getting tired of hearing of my own voice. But I am, of course, Mctavius, and I will be guiding you to and hopefully through the minefield that is Gameweek 31. But before we get to the blank game week, we must review the last game week, namely Gameweek 30. Now, I have to say something first. I have to clarify something from last week concerning our heavyweight game, Manchester United versus Liverpool. I made a bit of a boo-boo. I said that we both predicted that Liverpool would win 2-1, but what I meant to say was that United was going to win 2-1. I know, right? It's an easy mistake to make, to be fair. It must be because, both teams wear red or something. Silly Mig. So yeah, we got that prediction right. Yay for us. But to be fair, it was a lot more open than I thought it would be. Man United playing on the counter and being very efficient and effective with it, especially from the right foot of Marcus Rashford with his FIFA-esque goal and being in the right place to slot the second into an empty net. He has certainly asserted himself for a spot in the United starting 11 on a more regular basis, and probably on England playing to Russia as well. It was Liverpool's, their uncharacteristic wastefulness up front that cost them really. 14 shots with only 2 of them being on target, although I suppose I may have to take some credit for that because I did say that when Salah plays, Salah scores. So, I may have cursed him a little bit, but I got to stop him somehow. The supporting act was a little bit more run-of-the-mill. Stoke versus Man City. Man City coming out 2-0 winners. Another consummate City performance. Not good enough for my prediction though, or Nim's. I said 3-0 and Nim went 5-2. Although it could have been 3 or even 5 if Sterling had finished either of his chances. But nothing really to report. City cruising to the title again. And Stoke still in the bottom 3 below Palace and now managerless Southampton. So, yeah, just another run at the mill. But, we guessed City would win, just like everyone did. Just like Stoke did, to be fair. My surprise fixture was Chelsea versus Palace. Now, see, there must have been something in the water I was drinking during last week's pod, because I made another mistake. I said on the pod that Palace would win 2-1. Now, of course, what I meant to say was that Chelsea would win 2-1 like they did. Well, I really need to make sure I double check these things. Otherwise people are going to think that, we're not very good at predicting these games or something, But I can't remember if it was last week or maybe the week before, but I do remember saying about Willian being a good FPL option in the past and potentially in the future if he got more game time. Now, obviously he scored on the weekend, and in his last 10 game weeks, he's only completed 90 minutes on 3 occasions, and he scored in each of them. So, you give the man 90 minutes, he's going to score you a goal. And in fact, in one of those games, he even grabbed 2 assists. Game week 21 against Stoke. And you don't even have to give him 90 minutes, just give him 80 minutes. Game week 24, he scored against Brighton. And he got assist against him in just 80 minutes. But the rest of the game weeks, he's just getting 25 minutes, 7 minutes, and he's not having the time to do anything. And if he did, he could be a really reliable points returner, especially more reliable than the likes of Eden Hazard or Morata. Now, Nims was a little bit better with her call. She went for the Swansea-Huddersfield game. Of course, a 0-0. She also went for a draw, but she said 2-2. So she predicted a draw, but standardly predicted 4 more goals than there was. But to be fair, that wasn't for the lack of trying from Huddersfield. The Terriers had 30 shots. Now, okay, granted, only 4 were technically classed as on target, but that means that there was a lot of shots blocked by the Swansea defenders, and that was for pretty much 80 minutes of the game after the Jordan Ayew got sent off, which actually worked out quite well for me, having Lözil and Fernandes in my team, which leads me nicely onto my points review, of which Lözil and Fernandes played big parts in. Now, I may actually have to thank Mo this week at Dave07Smith, because he said before the game week, we was having a little bit of back and forth on Twitter about last week's pod and Nim coming back. And he said, Mig, bring back Nim when you outperform her in FPL. And he must have cursed her as much as I cursed Salah. Because I think the last time I outperformed her was Gameweek 22, something like that. I actually pipped her this week. I got 50, which moves me up to 15-18, which is actually a green arrow for the first time in 5 game weeks, up 130k to 1.8. Nim got 36 points, which just pushes her into the 1600s, points-wise, but she did drop about 40k to 850,000, roughly speaking. She obviously fell victim to the blanks from Salah and Captain Kane, only really returns from City boys, Otamendi and Sterling. She was in a ship with a lot of other people when Kane got injured and Salah didn't do anything. Aguero, of course, getting injured beforehand and not playing. So, it's just one of those weeks where nothing really went right. Whereas on mine, some bits did. I couldn't really improve on the score with any of the players I had already. There wasn't any big points on my bench. I think there was about 2 points on my bench. So, obviously I could have sold Stevens because I didn't actually sell him in the end. I'll get onto that later on when I do my transfers. But I could have actually sold him for someone who got points because Stevens got 0 points, naturally. But the 2 that I was going to go for, Martina and Fosu Mensah, neither of them played. So I didn't really, if I bought either of those, I still would have got 0 points. And it's not like, they didn't play, so someone will come off the bench for you, because my other 2 defenders on my bench were Hegazi and Francis, both of which got 0 points. So I would have just had another defender come on with 0 points, so at least I've saved a transfer, really. So yeah, nice round 50 points, a nice green arrow. It was a good week. A good week epitomised by my star man, Aubameyang, for the 2nd week in a row. Now, I said last week that I didn't think Pierre would repeat his goal at Watford, but credit to him, he did, only this time supplementing it with an assist rather than the 3 bonus points, of which actually he got none this week. So, that makes sense. Now, hopefully with those back-to-back wins over Milan and Watford, Arsenal and Aubameyang in particular, can kick on and get lots more goals and lots more points, which would be really nice, So crack on, Pierre, crack on. But obviously he's not playing in game week 31, so he can't be my fire player for next week. It could only really be either Firmino or Mane. And with Firmino just pipping Mane in terms of points in the last 4 game weeks, 27 opposed to 25, I would probably side with Firmino. I would certainly expect Liverpool to grab a few against Watford, and I'm hoping that Bobby and Sadio will be well in amongst them. Hopefully some goals, maybe some assists thrown in would be absolutely lovely. Thank you very much, and maybe nothing for Salah again. I don't know if that's being greedy, but I'm going to say it anyway. Shh, don't tell anyone. my lightning pick, which is of course the player that sort of was a bit of a flash in the pan, or something just went right and you can't really explain it. My lightning pick was Lurzel. Now, Lurzel was always going to be my keeper for Gameweek 30, with De Gea obviously up against Liverpool, and I knew that Lurzel had a good chance of getting a clean sheet against Swansea. But he's my lightning pick because he wasn't actually in my team until just before the deadline. I was putting my team up on Twitter, and when I put the picture in to the tweet, I noticed on the screenshot that I still had De Gea in goal. So I had to quickly go back into the Premier League site. I had to throw Lurzel back in goal, and thankfully I'd done it before the deadline. And thankfully I noticed it because he ended up getting 4 more points than De Gea. So it was a bit of a lightning strike of luck that I had done my tweet for my locked-in team before the deadline rather than waiting to do it after the deadline. A massive stroke of luck. Well, not a massive stroke of luck, but in terms of my season, it was a massive stroke of luck. What wasn't a massive stroke of luck was my Daft Puff, which I've just mentioned him as my fire player for next week, Firmino, who only got me 2 points. To be fair to him, I wasn't really expecting a massive points haul away at Manchester United, but I was on their form hoping for a goal or even just an assist, just some form of return would have been great, but unfortunately not. Obviously, no intentions of selling him or anything like that. The one player I do have intentions of selling this week is, of course, Stevens. Now, I've been trying to get him out of my team for a couple of weeks now, and I've either just backed out of it because I didn't know who to buy, or then I knew who to buy, but then they weren't playing, because I was going to get him out in game week 30 for Martina, but Nim actually said that Baines was expected to be back. So obviously Martina would lose his place. So I thought, well, Stevens against Newcastle, so, it's not the worst fixture to have, especially off the back of a clean sheet. So I'll probably just leave him in and see what happens with Baines and Martina. Maybe it's just a bunch of rumours and Martina will continue to play. And it was going okay, it was going alright when I saw Martina on the bench. And I was like, I've done it again, I've done a Lurzel. But then Newcastle just proceeded to wipe out all of Stevens' points. He wasn't helped by a yellow card, I think. So really, I wasn't any better off whatever I would have done with that transfer. Like I was saying earlier, the 2 defenders on my bench, Hegazi and Francis, got 0 points. So even if they had come in for a non-playing Martina, they wouldn't have done any good for me. Bit worryingly though, that does mean that 3 of my 5 defenders got 0 points. 2 of which are playing in Game Week 31. So so it doesn't really look great for a defensive haul of points, in Game Week 31. Which leads me on to the transfers that I'll probably be doing to get ready for this blank game week, which we seem to be talking about for weeks now. Obviously, I want to get Stevens out at the very least. Fernandes has redeemed himself somewhat, but, it wouldn't be difficult to ditch him for a week or 2. What I'm currently looking at, which I'll probably do, is Stevens and Fernandes out, and bringing in Robertson and either Mariappa or Kelly. Now, it doesn't have to strictly be Robertson. He's probably favourable, but I could go for Alexander-Arnold, obviously, who'd be the cheaper option, and then maybe getting slightly better than Mariappa or Kelly. But I think Robertson's probably the better fullback of the 2, and with Mariappa and Kelly playing, and for their cheap price, I'll probably go for those. I'm leaning more towards Kelly, simply because I don't really want to get in a defender for Watford who's going to be playing against Liverpool. Now, Palace against Huddersfield is a better fixture on paper. Kelly does play Liverpool the following week, but obviously I have all the rest of my players back, so I could just drop him to the bench, and then the Palace fixtures are reasonably favourable, so if he continues to get game time, then I can just leave him in my team and swap him in and out when I need him. Now, I do want to get Hegazi and Francis out of my team as soon as possible, but obviously I'm kind of restricted to having to keep them because they're both playing in the blank game week, so I'll just be cutting my nose off to spite my face if I got rid of them. I do have a question about transfers of Game Week 31, but I'll leave that until after the preview of the games, because I mention a few names in the previews, so I'll just do that and then I'll sort of give it a bit of a list of players who I think might do well in the game week and answer the question we got for this week. So the Game Week 31 preview, well, there's only 4 games to go, so we might as well do them all. The heavyweight game is, well, it's Liverpool versus Watford. I'm going for a 4-1 Liverpool win. Nim is going slightly more conservative with 3-1. History is certainly one-sided in this fixture. Watford have only won 5 of the previous 29 meetings, the most recent being a 3-0 win at Vicarage Road in December 2015, thanks to goals from Aki and a brace from Igalo, if anyone remembers that guy. He was quite the cheap beast at the time, I seem to remember. But since then, they've conceded 12 and only scored 4 in the following 4 games. The last of which was obviously the opening game of the season this season, and that was the 3-3 draw, Britos equalising in the last minute, I believe. And on that occasion, all 3 of Liverpool's attacking onslaught of players grabbed a goal. So I'd probably take that again. You know, I'll definitely take a goal from Firmino and a goal from Mane. That may be being greedy, but you know, when you're down in 1.8 mil, you've got to be as greedy as you can. The supporting act, I pulled rank here and put Palace against Huddersfield. I'm predicting a Palace 2-0 win. Yep, probably shouldn't. Could have probably just cursed them. But Nim is also predicting 2 goals for Palace, but she's going with 2 goals for Huddersfield as well for a 2-2 draw. Ignoring the victory in the Caramel Cup earlier in the season, Palace haven't beaten Huddersfield in the league in the previous 4 meetings. In fact, the last time Palace beat Huddersfield in the league, the winning goal was scored by one Neil Razor Ruddock. Now, that just shows how long ago it was. Now, obviously, there was quite the gap between the games there, but I think that was back in 2000 or something like that. But when we met in the Championship, they won and drew, and obviously they had that pretty surprising 3-0 win on the opening day of the season. Now, I'm hoping it'll be a bit more like the Razor Ruddock game than the Steve Mounier game for a Palace win. I certainly wouldn't like a Mounier hat-trick. I'm just going to put that out there. But Palace have had a string of good performances, but poor results at the same time. There's been no win since the 1-0 victory over Burnley in Game Week 23. But Huddersfield, on the other hand, have been very sort of hit and miss. Mostly misses. Only 2 wins in their last 12 game weeks can attest to that. So it'll be very close. It'll be pretty cagey. But I'm hoping Palace will come out on top, especially if we got Wilf back. Of the 2 remaining fixtures, I've picked my surprise one to be Bournemouth-West Brom. Now, well, I don't really know what to say about this, really, other than I hope that it's going to be a 0-0. Having Francis and Higazi. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to predict something completely outrageous, score-wise. So that it will inevitably be the opposite, and hopefully that will be the 0-0. So I'm going to predict that it will be a 3-2 win for Bournemouth. Now, to be fair, Bournemouth haven't been that bad in terms of results. They've only had 2 losses since Game Week 20, both 4-1, funnily enough, to Huddersfield and Spurs. But that run of games does include wins against Chelsea and Arsenal. So they're probably well worth a punt against a West Brom side that have lost all of their last 6 games and conceded 16 goals in the process. So, you know, West Brom are, well, at the moment it's only looking one way, and that's the way Sunderland went. But this could be the week that they turn it around. Possibly, maybe not. I think it will be a Bournemouth win. The last game, obviously, is Nim's surprise one, Stoke versus Everton. She's going with a Everton 2-1 win. Everton have had the beating of Stoke recently, winning 3 of the last 4 meetings, only conceding 1 goal in the process as well, which is pretty good. So maybe a sneaky Everton defensive double maybe could be an option. Maybe a Pickford and then either a Coleman or a Baines sort of thing. But then on the other hand, everyone's current Gameweek 31 Scouse alternative, Shaqiri, has scored 2 goals in 3 games against Everton. So, what's going to prevail more? Is it going to be Shaqiri and his goals, or is it going to be Everton's clean sheets? Go with both. And our one question this week comes from Ross, at Ross_FPL, and he asks, what's the minimum amount of players needed to get through Game Week 31 unscathed in your opinion? Now, I have 8 players, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I have 8 players and 2 free transfers that I was going to use, so that could knock me up to 10. Now, I don't think you strictly need 10 players, but there's a couple of spaces for me to get players out that I wanted to get out, and I just happened to get people who are going to be playing. Obviously, if you have someone like Salah, you could probably just roll with Salah. To be fair, just captain him and he'll probably get, enough points to cover a game week. And if you got Salah, Firmino and Mane, that's pretty much the bulk of anyone's FPL points on a normal game week. So you probably get through pretty unscathed there. I'd probably say around 7 players should probably be fine. I mean, it all depends on where you are. If you want to take, a cheeky punt on a couple of differential players, or if you're even going for a free hit, then obviously if you're going for a free hit, then you're going to get 11 players in there. But if you're choosing to save that free hit for maybe game week 35 for the next blank one, then probably 7, 8 players. 8 would be completely fine. 7 you could get through unscathed. Maybe even 6 at a push, because if you've got 6 players, but they're Firmino, Salah, Mane, Shaqiri, maybe even someone like Benteke or Coleman or someone at the back, I mean, if you've got 6 quality players that are going to get you good returns against lower opposition, then you could still easily get around the 40, 50 points. And that's, that's a good game week for me. I mean, I don't know what you class as unscathed, but I'd be pretty happy if I got 50 points next week. So yeah, I'd probably say about 7 would be an alright amount of players. I mean, I've already got 8, so I don't have to get any in. I was just doing it for the kicks now, So yeah, so I'd probably have 10. I'm not going to take a hit to get another one in because I burned my wild card a few weeks ago. So I can't do that whole fill up my team this week so that I have a full 11 to play the blank game week and then just wild card in 32 to look forward. So I'm kind of playing it a little bit safe with this blank game week. So yeah, I think 7 should be good. Magnificent 7. We'll go with the Magnificent 7. And speaking of about 7 players or so, I'll just quickly go through a few names. I know I did, one of the questions last week were alternatives to Liverpool, and I gave a few names then, but I'll just quickly go through, as I think I've whizzed through this podcast quite quickly, so we may have a little bit of time just to have a little sneaky look at some of these players that'll be playing for us in this game week. Put them in my watch list. Where shall we start off with? Let's start off with the goalkeepers. Obviously there's not a huge amount to pick from, but I've currently got Lerzel. Lerzel was a good pick, I thought, with his fixtures, which has proved to be alright when I've played him. He's got a clean sheet up against Swansea. Obviously, there's Carnizes. Yeah, I heard it on the TV. I think it's Carnizes, or Carney, the Watford goalkeeper. I said last week that he's probably going to have the game of his life against Liverpool and end up having like a double-figure haul of points. But then the other 2 choices are probably Butland or Pickford. Pickford's in there, he's got a chance of a clean sheet against Stoke, and Butland has a very good chance of getting some save bonus points and then ultimately another set of free bonus points, because that man loves a free bonus points. 2 in his last 3, I think, and the only time he didn't get it last game week because who's up against Man City. You're not going to get bonus points against Man City. So they're probably my 4 goalkeepers. I've got this up on the site and I've put them in ranks of form. So I'll start from the bottom. We've got Aki, averaging 2 points. He has got a goal in him. He's definitely an attacking threat from corners. So too is Dawson for West Brom. Obviously, the West Brom defence is not the most wonderful thing you want to be relying on. I know, I have Hegazi. But looking at that team in general, Dawson is probably one of the better options to have. There are obviously better options, which I'll get to in a minute further up the field. Stoke, you've got Bauer, probably through price. I know other defenders can do better, like Zuma and stuff, but they're like a mil more expensive than him, and he can get forward and get some assists, so he could be a good option for 4.5. Schindler at Huddersfield is proving quite popular, 4.6. I'm not sure about having a Huddersfield double up though. Definitely could. I mean, Palace haven't been the most prolific goal scorers in the league this season, so could definitely go for it. Liverpool wise, I'm not going to be alternative to Liverpool, because there are some alternative players in Liverpool that you could get besides the big 3 guys up front. I'm probably going for Robertson, but like I said earlier, you could go Alexander-Arnold. He has been playing in the league instead of Gomez, which was a bit of a surprise to me a few weeks ago. But he's only 4.3 mil. You don't really need to go for someone like a Mariappa or a Kelly when you could get Alexander-Arnold. Now, I'm probably going for one of the other two, because I know if I get Alexander-Arnold, Gomez will play, which will just completely ruin me. I did say earlier about Baines. Now, Gameweek 30 was Baines' first game back after a long time. I think it might have been Gameweek 12 or 13, I think he might have last played. So he may not even play this game week, because Allardyce did do when Coleman came back. He sort of alternated him on off with Kenny for a couple of games, and then he started playing him more regularly. So he may have played Baines in 30, and then he may rest him for 31 and play Martina again, and then have him in 32 and carry on with him, which would be a bit annoying. But Baines is a fit guy, he'll probably be forced to be back in there. And the other 2 names I got are Adam Smith at Bournemouth, 4.8, can definitely grab an assist up against West Brom. He could definitely cause troubles for that back line and maybe grab an assist or 2. And the last one is the form defender, actually, at the moment, Patrick Van Aanholt of Crystal Palace. 2 goals in his last 2 games. And he's up against Huddersfield. So, he's going to bag another goal, isn't he? Of course he is. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he's shooting up their left-hand side. Of course he's going to grab a goal. Why wouldn't you buy him? 5.1. He's a little bit out of my price range, because if I got him, then I just couldn't buy anyone. And especially now with Zaha being back, maybe I don't... Actually, thinking about it, I don't know what they're going to do with Zaha back and with Schlupp and Van Aanholt on the left. Now, Van Aanholt has definitely staked a claim to not being dropped, scoring 2 goals in 2 games. Schlupp hasn't had 2 great games, so he may get dropped back to the bench, and he'll go with Wilf on the left wing with Van Aanholt left back. Probably. I mean, that's probably what it deserves to happen. Speaking of Wilf, obviously he's back and he only played the second half and he got assist against Chelsea. So if he starts against Huddersfield, hopefully he could come back fighting form, kick straight off, and I can get him back into my team, because I kind of missed the fella. Other players, West Brom, Brunt, I said it last week, Nim champions him, but she never buys him for some reason, just curses him probably. He could certainly grab an assist, or even a goal. Balassi at Everton, a bit of a left field one, because obviously people will be going for ones like Walcott, maybe Tossan. People were big on Siggy, but I think he may be out for the season now, poor fella. Balassi did get an assist in the last game. His minutes have not been wonderful, far from wonderful, but he's definitely got pace on that wing to trouble the Stoke back. I mean, if you've got Balassi on one side and you've got Baines and you've got Coleman, I mean, those wings can, well, there'll be a lot of balls coming to that Stoke box. So there's plenty of opportunities for assists. Bournemouth, Stanislas, he scored in the last game, I believe. Yeah, he scored in the last game. Cancelled out all those Tottenham clean sheets that people would have been happy about. Obviously, people have been quite annoyed by Wilson's lack of returns, but Stanislas is one of those ones that sort of pops up every now and then, gets a goal, maybe even gets 2 goals. Sometimes he takes penalties. 5.9 mil, averagey sort of price. He could do something. Talking about averagey sort of price, a couple of Liverpool alternatives could go for. Chamberlain, who's been mentioned on the pod before, he loves a shot from 30 yards, does old Ox. One time it's got to go in, and it could be this week. And if you're feeling really frisky, you could go Chan. Really in form at the moment. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists in his last 6 game weeks. He's got a bit of a pattern going on, because in 25 he scored an assist, and he got 14, and then he blanked for a couple, and in 28 he got a goal and an assist and got 13 points, and then he's blanked 29 and 30. So obviously that means that he's going to score an assist in 31 and probably get like 12 points or something. You know, just calling it here. I'm just going by the patterns. You know. And finally, looking at the front line, I've got 4 names there. I've got King. Probably not for 7 mil. I mean, he's not... I don't know if you want to back anyone in that Bournemouth front line. For one, you don't know who's going to play. You'd think it'd be King and Wilson, but Defoe's on his way back. And you got that Mousse fella. Steve Mounier, who of course scored a brace on his debut against Palace on the opening day of the season. Well worth a punt if he could maybe able to do that again. Hopefully not, as I was saying earlier. I hope he doesn't, score at all, let alone a brace or a hat-trick. With West Brom, that I was saying earlier, with Brunt with his assists, he could certainly be providing assists for Rondon. They love getting the ball into the box, and Rondon is quite prolific with his head, so he could definitely be an option against that Bournemouth defence. He could certainly bully them. Much like Deeney could do against Liverpool. I don't really want to advise you to buy Deeney because I don't like the guy, and that's sort of the way I play FPL, more with my heart and my disdain than rather than with my head and common sense. But the last name, which I said last week, was Benteke. He only played the first half of the Chelsea game. Obviously he didn't have a great game, but like I was saying last week, the stats before that are pretty good for him. In the previous 8 games, he had a goal and 6 assists. So I'm hoping with Wilf back, he can kick on. And Sorloth, I'm really hoping that he scores soon, because the kid can run for days and just got to get a final product there. Hopefully he can score. Well, he did score and it was disallowed. I don't know why. Some sort of a foul, but I don't think it was. So yeah, there is a list of a few names, some different names that hopefully... Oh, I missed Decore out. Okay, I'll quickly say about Decore, because I know not many people will want to get Watford players against Liverpool, especially defenders or keepers. But Decore does love a big goal against a big team. He scored 7 goals so far this season. Now, he scored against Man United, he scored against Chelsea, and he's already scored against Liverpool in the reverse fixture. So, of the Watford options, he's definitely one of the better ones to go for. 5.5 mil in the midfield. Definitely one to go for if you really want a yellow shirt beaming on your FPL team. So yeah, there's a list of names, finally. And that's about it. I'll let you get on with your blank game week dilemma. Check out the website fpljournal.com, the Twitter page at FPL Journal blog, my Twitter page if you want to let me know about any other players you think might do, or if you think that my players or predictions or anything were completely wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I'm an utter genius. I don't mind if you want to call me a genius. You're probably wrong and drunk, but I take a compliment when I can get it. That's at Megtavius. And Nims, of course, so you can send her all your well wishes that she can recover quickly and get back so I don't have to ramble by myself, is at Nimfria TV. On her YouTube channel, you'll find all the past episodes of the podcast. The last couple haven't gone up because obviously she's not been too well, so she hasn't had time to get it actually onto the YouTube. But when she's back, there'll be a sudden burst and you can go back and listen to them all sometimes the thing that I do, like when you go back and listen to a podcast, knowing what already happened in the game week, and it's interesting to see if they got it right or with their predictions and stuff like that. So there'll be a sudden influx of podcast episodes up on the YouTube channel soon, but otherwise you can find it on SoundCloud, iTunes and Stitcher. All the links are on the Twitter page. Good luck with Game Week 31, however you're playing it, whether you're playing a free hit chip or a wild card, taking hits and transfers to stock up on available players, or if you're just ignoring it and pretending it doesn't happen and taking a early start into the international break. Either way, whatever way you're doing it, don't forget to keep popping. #keep popping.